Welcome, welcome, TJKshares, one-on-one with TJK. This is another day God has given us. We praise and thank Him. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been following this channel, subscribed, you've shared. We encourage you to continue sharing. We bring you transformational people doing transformational work around the world. We bring you people who will help you learn, relearn, or unlearn some few things you know. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I have a pleasure and an honor to host my friend, a friend who will teach us about branding. And without saying so much about branding, because I'm not a professional, this is why I'm bringing you, Timothy, to tell us a little bit about branding, to share with us how to go about it, and how to create that brand, whether it is personal brand, whether it is company brand, whether it is organizational brand or non-profit brand. Welcome to the channel, Tim, aka Timothy. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and introduce yourself.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jackson. I'm happy to be here. I didn't know you do such great things until you hit me up a couple of weeks back about this channel. And then, yesterday you just said, why aren't you sitting into this? And I'm happy to give Timothy to the world. My name is Timothy Bukenya. And I'm married to one wife, and I am a branding professional, marketing professional. For the last since 2010, when I graduated from college or what we call university here in Uganda, at Makerere, where the business school with a business administration, I have been running my own marketing and branding company called Fine Media Limited. I'm putting on the shirt Fine, and if people are watching, they can check it out, finemediaug.com. Try and see some of the work that we do. We are located here in Kampala in a place called Design Hub, 5th Street Industrial Area. And we do marketing and branding for a lot of companies, the small brands, the ones that are rarely known, and then all the way to the large ones that are known, like the Hima Cements of this world, Shell, and a couple of others. It's been a journey. It's been a journey of learning, relearning, and unlearning, over the last 13 to 14 years of my professional life. I was employed once, if you'd like to know, for about 3 years in 2 or 3 different marketing and branding agencies, running up to 2015.
Yes.
To also learn from there. And so I got my skills a little bit more sharpened. And I don't know if there's anything else that I've left out in terms of introduction.
Oh, don't worry. We will get it out of you because our audience is listening and waiting. This is a topic that was requested by popular demand. And Tim, as you know, I'm spending a year at Harvard University. So when this subject came, I was tempted to go to Harvard Business School and talk to a professor. But our audience is mostly youth on the continent of Africa. Most of them look at people like me, and if I interview a professor at Harvard, they will look at people and say, it is Harvard people. But I want to bring people who they can identify with, people who they can share a journey with. So my first question to you, my friend, I know you've started Fine Media. Take us back to parents, where you were born, where you were raised, a little bit, whether you have siblings. We now noted you have one wife in Busoga. You can have more, but you have chosen one. So, where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Jinja. My dad was I'm an electric engineer with what they call UEB. I don't know if people outside Uganda know about
Uganda
UEB.
Electricity Board.
Yes.
Yes.
So it was a government-owned entity that was in charge of generation, transmission, and selling of hydroelectric power across Uganda. But by then, we only had one dam, Owen Falls Dam, which is on the border of Buganda and Busoga, somewhere as you start Ginger. Actually, the bridge, the Ginger Bridge, the old Ginger Bridge, is the landmark. It's the difference between the Baganda, a tribe in Uganda, and the Basoga, another tribe in Uganda. They are both Bantu languages. So my dad worked there as a folksman, and my mom, on getting married, they requested a transfer. My mom is a teacher, but retired now. So she was teaching in Namagunga, boarding primary school, again one of the best within central Uganda. And she requested that they transfer her. It was still easy then. And so we settled in Jinja, and that's where I am born. We lived in the staff quarters of UEB. They were called Amber Court. So that's where I was born, and that's where I attended. I mean, I lived most of my early life until when I was about 3 to 4 years. When my dad resigned his job to start his own engineering firm. And once he started his engineering firm, that's when we moved out of the staff quarters of Amber Court and started living in a place near Jinja called Njero, in a particular place called Biko. That's yes. Where I grew up from. Now, I have 2 brothers and 3 sisters. One elder brother, all the sisters are older than me, and then one young brother. I went to school in primary school first in Jinja, in a school called Victoria Nile School. I don't know if anyone who might be watching knows it or went there. But then later on, halfway through, around my P5, I joined Budo Junior School. My dad told me my future might be great if I went to a different school. And so I joined Budo Junior School. Actually, my P7, my dad passes. And then I went to another school, the Eton of Africa. It's called King's College Budo. They're both very related. Budo Junior is a junior section of King's College Budo. And we like to say that Budo is not a school, but it's sort of like a culture, a movement, a lifestyle.
Yes.
And they are, just like you said, when you go to Harvard, it's a bit transformational. The kind of people that you meet, the kind of learning, the kind of programs that you have, it's pretty similar to Budo here. So Budo was created for sons of the royals and aristocrats within Uganda. And so while I was there, I got introduced to a lot of things, to a lot of people, but also a lot of things, a lot of culture, the resilience. We played sports, we did co-curricular activities, and our characters got formed in a certain way, which was preparation. We didn't know to help us win in this world. So, but I also must mention that it was studying by merit throughout my life. I mean, doing interviews and entry and exams at every stage. From changing primary schools through to finishing primary school, going to high school, it was by merit. I got the best grade there was in Uganda, which is a 4. Through joining O-level, again by merit, I joined A-level, and then by merit, I got a government scholarship in Uganda here, and went to university, and the government paid my tuition to finish my degree. Of course, I've had several courses and certificates that I've done over and above that. which I might not want to mention now, but I might mention during the course of this conversation in case I find it necessary. Now, in terms of who I am on top, I'm very sociable. I like to have a good laugh and a good drink. I like to have fun. Marketing is my passion because our industry is very people-driven, very interactive, and also we are creating emotional moments and occasions for people. Giving birth to a brand is so similar to giving birth to an individual.
That's right.
All growing a brand, and so that's what we do every day. We have done the big brands, the small ones. We've done the big events, the small events. We have done the big launches, the medium type launches, and the small ones. And I mean, it's been a journey and a lot of stories to tell. But I'll let you, Jackson, guide me on which ones you'd like to be told on your platform.
Yeah, we do want all of it. If time allowed, we would spend hours and hours, Tim, and explore every angle of this. But for context, I knew you were going to talk about Budo. Budonians, man. Those of us who grew up in the villages, Budo was the place we heard of. We just thought that's the place you can't reach, you can't touch. But what an amazing culture you've had around the world. There are so many. We've had some Budonians, some Gayaza people here on this channel. And when you talk about culture, we say we really missed out. But God creates us with a purpose. How did you choose to pursue marketing at university? Was this your idea? Since you had parents, an engineer and a teacher, did they guide you in a career to take? How did you come to the marketing as a major at university?
Well, I think it was by the grace of God and by what I believe is faith and the purpose. Yes. My dad had already passed by the time I started discussing career. Growing up, I don't remember childhood discussion of career with my parents, and I think that might be a problem here in Uganda and Africa. But through high school, my mom thought I should become a pharmacist.
There we go.
Yeah, so she's like, pharmacy is a good cause, it's professional. And then we had a neighbor who was a pharmacist, and they were making money. And so my mom is like, pharmacists are few in the world, so it's easy to make it, so I think you should do pharmacy. And then me, at some point, I interact with actuarial science, and I like being different, and I'm thinking it's unique, and I think it's something I should do. So that's where we thought would land at. So there's something called the JAP forms here in Uganda, where you're filling choices for university, and so yes, so I feel there are actually 6 choices at uni. Okay. So I feel actuarial science first. I couldn't do pharmacy because the combination. It's also very, very driven here. And I'm sure that people who are from here know that at a certain level, if you have to do pharmacy, you'll have to do PCBM or BCM something. If you have to do medicine, similar things. But I did make, but with music. So if I can take you back a bit from high school, from primary school to high school, I loved drama, I loved music, I loved things that involved creating. And so I was very involved in the music competitions, 6 years at school. I was very involved in the drama club, as we had a news agency at school. It was called the School Council News Agency, SCNA, the CNN of the school. Eventually I became the editor-in-chief. I was involved in debates. I was involved in both the junior and senior debating club. So there were things that I was involved in that sort of like predicted the interactivity that I'm going to have future life. I was involved in sports also. I didn't make it to any school team, but I was involved in a cricket club and a couple of other sports clubs. So now I did make with music. So I understand music to a greater depth than a lot of people do because I studied it for almost all my high school. And so I couldn't apply for pharmacy or any of the things that I could have wanted to, or my parents would have wanted to. So I applied for actuarial science. I don't remember the other 5 choices, but the last choice was business administration. Yeah, so you apply in order of how you prefer them. So my least preference was business administration. So when results come back, I had, I think, about 20 points out of 25 at A level. And then we wait. There is selection ongoing by all the universities that are owned by government in the country. And then the lists are out. And I remember I had a vacation job somewhere on Bombo Road. We had an office with a couple of fellow vacationists, most of them from Budu. And so we're checking the newspapers. And so I check my first choice, my second choice, my third choice, my fourth, and I give up. And I'm on none of the lists.
Yes.
So I remember I had a mobile phone then, but airtime was extremely very expensive. So we'd call either by office line or by phone booth. So I go down to, there was a phone booth on that building. It's called Shoal House, still exists opposite Watoto Church, former KPC. So I go down to the building, there's a booth, and I call. And I'm calling my mom in Ginger, as in Kampala, and I'm telling her, oh, you know what? It's not good. It's not good at all. I didn't get anything. I know she screams, and I think that's the saddest scream I've heard from her. In despair, she's like, oh, together call her Tutia. And in English, that's what are we going to do now? Because we can't afford university education on private sponsorship. And so I'm like, I don't know, but if a God exists, then this is a time for him to show us that he does exist and he has a plan for us. And you see, I went off the phone, and I was more hurt about the feeling of my mother than even me not making it. And if I may digress a bit, I remember there's another friend of mine who we go to school with, and so he was around there, and he says, oh, let's go to uni and just verify what they're saying in the papers. And so we take a taxi, a quick taxi to Makerere, and we go to the notice board. I mean, we're speaking 2006. So everything in Uganda is very manual. No phones, no computers. You can't check online. Everything is really brick and mortar.
Yes.
So we take this taxi and go to the notice board of the university. It's also close by. And you know, we go over the list, and he had asked for medicine and surgery, and he had been given dental surgery, his second choice. You know, with him, and for me, I know I have nothing. And you know, he's saying, I don't like what they have given me. I can't believe I asked for medicine and I've been given surgery.
Dental, yeah.
No, in my mind, I am very sad and I'm very disgusted by him. And you know, I'm saying that you're asking for another shoe. I don't have a foot.
Exactly.
So yeah, so we go back to the office, and you know, like I said, it's a group of us from Buda, about 5-6 of us, both ladies and gentlemen, and everyone is excited, going through what everyone's postcode. We're speaking about other people who are not in that room, because the list in the newspapers, we have both New Vision and Daily Monitor, going over the list. And then one lady, I remember, she was called Victoria. She is called Victoria, married somewhere in Europe now, classmate of mine. We used to call her Tori. And so she screams, Timothy Bukenya, business administration. And you know, oh, remember I had prayed also. I want to bring this out very clearly. And so, and I'm confused. I'm like, no, Tori, stop pulling my leg. I said, no, it's right here. Timothy, King's College, Budo, business administration. You've been put in the business school, MOOCs.
Wow.
And I'm like, no, this can't be. This can't be. And so I check the papers, and I'm in, and I have to dash downstairs and put in another coin of 500 shillings in the booth, and then call again and relay the news. I'm like, there was an error. And you know, to this day, I don't know if I don't know, but me, I think that is God hearing a prayer and changing something, because initially we hadn't had this. And so that's how I end up in business school, MOBS, of Makerere, the greatest university in Africa too. It's very rated. And that's how I spent my 3 years doing business administration. Now, like I said, that this is fate, because while doing it, I like things that are at the forefront.
Yes.
Things like branding, things like marketing, things like events. I started doing such t-shirts when I was in first year. A friend of mine was reminding me recently of how I was telling him I can make for you a shirt. I even forgot an entire story. He told me, no, in first year you met me and you're trying to sell to me a branded shirt and stuff like that. And so at that time, I used to tell people without knowing that I can brand on anything, be it a wall, be it a shirt, be it a shoe. And I had a joke that I used to go around with that, and the only research I'm doing right now is how to brand on water. Yeah, like water in a container, how to brand it inside there. And so I think I would run with that. So when the choices for your major, the major came in at uni, it was really obvious for me, and so I chose that. But also take you back a bit, in my second year, my big brother was a friend with someone at NBS. It was starting as a TV in Kampala. They already had a radio that had been running for years. So in Kampala, TV was starting. So this friend of my brother's, asked him to get him a person to do sales and marketing. And so my big brother hooks me up and I get a university job as a sales agent for NBS. And this one I'm getting my first real interaction with sales, marketing, and branding. And so, yeah, I think, like I said, I think it was fate. So I got skewed towards this side. Yeah.
Very good. Wow, what a journey you have had. And for people who are listening to us, you mentioned, I was taking notes a little bit here. You talked about creativity. You talked about being an editor while you were still in school. And you talked about making t-shirts. You were already making t-shirts. So marketing, creativity, branding is all in your blood. There is passion right there. And I like the fact that you said your parents didn't try to sway you on what to study. They let you follow your dream and where you can fit. I had a guest here who told me, I am so wanting to tell people and parents to stop forcing their children to be doctors. Like your mom wanted you to be a pharmacist, but she didn't force you to go into pharmacy. Just 3 professions: lawyer, doctor, accountant, then engineer. The things they hear, they forget that people have their own mind and have their own creativity. So thank you to your mom, Mama Weba Leino. When she hears this, I can speak some Lusoga, for letting you be the genius you are. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had a guest to talk about branding. We are going to jump into it. You started making t-shirts. You told your fellow students and everybody that you can brand on anything. When I met our mutual friend, Mark Kakuba, who introduced me to you, that's the same thing he said. He said, Timothy can brand on anything. Topic today, ladies and gentlemen, after those introductions, is branding. So define for us branding, and how do we go about all this? Before we even started recording, I said I'm going to wear TJK for our TJK Foundation and TJKshares, and he said, oh, if that's the case, I also need to wear my fine shirt. Fine media, but you just have fine. The E is not even a complete E. Please teach us, what is branding? How do people go about it? How do we go about personal branding, organizational branding? By the end of our conversation, what do you want people to know and take note of when we say branding?
All right. What we must not forget is branding is a process of creating perceptions within your target audience about either yourself or your organization or your product or your service. So most importantly, when you start branding, and marketing and communications, like I would like to call it in a whole, is how would you like people to perceive your product or your organization or your service or everything or you?
Yes.
And so when we start branding, we start with who the target audience is. So a lot of times people create brands on things they want or they feel. And sometimes they're lucky that those things sell because there's so many people who want something similar. But some of them are unlucky that their things won't sell because they have created a brand for themselves for what they feel. Yeah. So now when you're going to communicate as a whole, branding and marketing and sales are all part of communication. So when you want to communicate as a whole, whether you're communicating yourself as a personal brand or a product or a service, it is extremely very important that you know who your target audience is. And then also you have to do what they call audience mapping to try to understand your target audience. So who is my target audience? How many are they? Where are they located? What is their taste and preference? What do they do for leisure? What is their level of income? Do they have purchasing power for the kind of product or service I'm trying to sell to them? Basically, it's a sort of like mapping. It's a detailed mapping to understand. Now, out of there, we get what sometimes we call the primary target audience or the bullseye audience. And that should be the majority, because when you're branding, you want to brand for the majority. But you may realize that the product that you have actually has what they call a secondary audience. So this is a different kind of people, but there are also many, and they could also buy into that product. And so you can also define that in a similar way to your primary target audience. Some products have what we would like to call a tertiary audience also, like beyond the bullseye, the secondary audience, then there's even a tertiary audience. They are much less than maybe the first and second, but still they exist and they would like to be attended to. And so sometimes some organizations go into something called market segmentation. Okay. And market segmentation simply means dividing your products or service or yourself into sub products and services that suit different audiences. For example, if I might pick a leaf from MTN, one of the biggest brands here in Uganda, they have been very intentional about their branding ever since they came in the late 90s. They have something for business, MTN Business. They have something for the normal person, which is the normal MTN, I don't know what they call it. But they have something for the university, which they're calling MTN Pulse. Yeah, which is for younger people who would like to save on their bundles and their minutes and what. So they have a whole package. So and they have so much more for a lot of other audiences. So they have segmented their market, but it's all MTN, and we're all consuming data and voice calls from them as a telecom, as a major telecom in Uganda. But they have gone ahead to brand in terms of segmentation. So branding, in a nutshell, is creating perceptions. Is creating how you would like to be perceived within what your audience is. I don't know if I've answered that very well.
Yes, you've answered it very, very well. Before you even think of branding yourself, your company, your organization, think of the audience and segment that audience. You used an example of MTN, which has done it so well. I have always talked about MTN, by the way, in different spheres in the work I do. When people start saying, I can't market something, I said, MTN has marketed a phone to the people in the lowest bracket of income. In the villages, people will sell land and buy a phone.
A phone, yeah.
Yes. And that all comes from how they have branded all those yellow shops in Iganga, small village where people can't even speak a word of English. MTN is right there. So you said you can brand on anything, and you started with the T-shirts. Let's go step by step and talk about personal branding. Now you're wearing a shirt, it has a fine, it doesn't have the word media in front, it just has a fine. When a person looks at that shirt, what perception are you trying to create?
So brands have stages of maturity. There is the toddler stage. They're like children.
Yes.
They're toddlers, and then there's growth, and then there's a youthful stage, and then there's maturity, and then there is when the brand is getting old. And there has to be a reaction at every stage, how the brand is treated. And I'll go a bit personal, but let me start from company and product. So at toddler stage, you want your brand out there. It has to be perceived how it is, how you like it to be. And so you're very intentional and very clear on the things you put out, on the branding that you do, and the message you're communicating. So if this was 2010, this shirt would have a huge fine media with a huge logo, maybe similar to TJK now. Because at that time, we don't want any confusion. We want to bring up the brand very clearly. We want to create the DNA, how we want it. The colors have to be very clear. I remember when we started out, the colors were white, black, and lemon green. And so the colors have to be very clear. Probably I'll be looking for a lemon green t-shirt, trying to print on it with black and maybe white and stuff like that.
Exactly.
To make sure that perception is clear, the fonts are clear, and it's in people's eyes as many times as possible. So there are things to do at toddler stage. So that's when you plant the brand. That's when you emphasize the name. That's when you're coming out boldly with the colors, with the symbols. You have a font. You have a typography. You have a branding materials, how they should be, how the logo should be placed against different surfaces. Say the door, if you're branding pens and paper and stuff like that. So it's all in a brand manual. We will put it in a brand manual while starting out, and this is how it should be treated. However, surprisingly, after a couple of years, or depending on how active your brand is, people start getting tired of it. And so, and this is when the brand is no longer a toddler. It is now growing. And so you need to refresh. Yeah, you need to refresh. You may not change the name. You might even not change the colors. You may, depending on the industry that you're in. So for us at that time, and if I had known, maybe I didn't do, I could have shown the logo. We changed the logo from the lemon green and black, white. We changed it to maroon. Yeah, so it was like a signature, Fly Media. And it was maroon, and we used that, and people liked it. It was simple. And so, but at that time, we were still displaying a lot of Fine Media. We were creating the websites, the business cards, but we are theming it around maroon because at the time, I think the brand has grown and it should appeal in a certain way as it is. So let's start there until a certain time. We first struggled though with that. The F was also very similar to an L. So a few instances, but quite often, people will be like, "Are you Line Media or Fine Media?" Because I told you it was a sort of like signature.
Yes.
So the F was confusing, and so we realized that we should not be confusing. We should be what we call single-minded in the comms, and the logo and the colors and the symbols are very important. So that's when we switch up and switch to the black and white. Yeah. Okay. You're looking at TJK.
Oh yeah, I'm learning.
Whether it's confusing or not.
I'm learning which one is confusing.
Exactly. So it's.
But we are babies, so
yeah, I think it's clear. Yes. So we moved to the black, but it's also very simple. We just created a box that could Fine Media in it. And it was so simple, and we use that as a logo. At that time, I was saying less is more. We had a theming then in the company for all our projects. I tried for a couple of years. We'd say less is more. And so we moved to that level. And then COVID comes and COVID ends. And when COVID is ending, we are like, we need to come out afresh. We need to show new energy. We need to show a bit of new power. We need to show the maturity that we are. We need to appeal to our target audience. And so that's when we started being a bit more playful with all this. Now, because of the level of maturity that we have, and the fact that our name and quality precedes us, we have the luxury to be this confusing.
Exactly. Yes.
And brands shouldn't be confusing. You understand? But we say We want a shirt that doesn't look like a company shirt, that you can put on and go anywhere, and no one will make you feel like you're putting on a branded shirt.
Yes.
You understand? And so the thing around this was to certainly communicate our brand, but we'll be playful about it, and we'll be cool about it, because we want to be different. But then we put our slogan here, and if you look carefully, I don't know if you can read what it is.
Yes,
if you come close to me, it is
brands
live here.
Live here.
Yes.
Yes, sir. I get it. See?
Yeah. Exactly. Brands live here. So this is our slogan, and then this is Fed Media. So people think they are cool, and I mean we are cool, and they would like to associate. But that's us. We learn to step out and to be, and sometimes the risk of stepping out gives us a lot of returns. But I mean, as you're doing with your brand, you have to do it at the levels. You have to know, because we believe any brand is like a person. It has its own DNA. There's been a lot of things about DNA in Uganda recently, but a brand a brand is a unique. It's a unique body. Yes. Yeah, that must have its own DNA. How you like to style it, how you like it to grow. You understand? Similar to good morning, and then later on when you get used to a person, it's morning, and then later on it gets to hi. Or these days women say yo.
Yes.
What's up? And it's enough for greeting. Yeah. You understand? So, but before we started, I mean, when we were still younger, it was always good morning. Yeah. So as we grow up, as the language grows, as the informality dwindles, then it becomes yo. Yeah, because so that's how a brand goes through stages. Now, in terms of activation of any of these, you must study and understand at what stage your brand is, because depending on the industry, brands mature at different levels. While some brands can take 1 or 2 years to get out of toddler stage, some brands can be toddlers for 5 years. Some brands will be 6 months. So you have to know. Of course, the factors that do that is how much is being spent on the brand, what level of interaction the brand has with the target audience, what industry the brand is, the competition. There's so many factors that determine how fast a brand grows. Now, in terms of personal branding, if I may go there, yes. I don't know if that's okay now.
Yes.
It's also very, 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 very important to understand, again, who your target audience is. That's why for us at Fed Media, our interviews, we no longer do physical interviews like this for jobs, because people have learned how to brand themselves very well. And so in the interview, you have the best people ever. And then when it comes to practicality, it's different. So once we receive the minimum threshold for qualification, we tell you, no, come and work. And so you start working, and 3 months determine of whether what you told us on your CV is what it is, or it was a big lie. Now, personal branding involves creating the perception, again, of yourself that you would like people to believe. You understand? Now, it has nothing to do with being a mofere. Let people not misunderstand. Exactly. When you talk about perception, people think then you're going to lie, but rather, people have to be very intentional about the person they want to be viewed as. Now, personal branding is not all about the look. Yeah. So because there is shaving your hair and your beard, putting on glasses if they are for show. Mine are not. I am myopic, but my eyes have different defects. So my glasses are very complicated even. Yeah. But there are people who are like, no, the glasses look good on me, so I put on some to look good. The people who pierce their ears, or put on studs. The people who grow their hair. I mean, different ways of look at film. Then there's what people put on. You put on a polo shirt or a collared t-shirt, like we like call it locally. Put on a round neck. Some people like to put on a shirt and tie. Some of them a jacket too. That is part of it, but a small part of it. Your look is important. There's that saying that there's only one opportunity to create a first impression.
That's true.
Yes. Yeah. So it's important when you show up, that you show up at your best. A friend of mine told me that a couple of years back, because I was telling him, I didn't want to show up for this. I'm like, no, either don't show up or show up at your best. So even how you smell, there are colognes and stuff like that. So there are the strong ones, the weak ones, the subtle ones. So if you're a strong cologne person, you communicate something else. If you're a mild one, you communicate something else. If there's none at all, something else. But also, if you have body odor, people don't like talking about this, then that's something else in branding.
Very important, yes.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So it's important on the appearance, and also if someone meets you, how do their 5 senses or 6 senses react towards meeting you? So how do they smell you? How do they see you? How do they hear you? How do they feel you? Yeah. And how do they taste you in their mouth? And people ask me, what do you mean? And I'll explain about the taste in the mouth. But then the 6th sense, which we emphasize in our first 7-8 years of operation, is the perception. How do they perceive you?
Yes.
Yes. The emotions around you once people meet you. And this comes by when you start talking, and how you act, and how you communicate, and how you interact. The perception around you comes around that. There's that big joke, it's a bad one though, that we thought he was clever until he started talking.
Yeah.
You understand? And it's very bad. And you look at someone and you respect them extremely so much while they are quiet. And then when they start talking, they lose all the respect that you had for them, simply because of what they say. And part of how to brand yourself in terms of speech is to know when to talk, and also to talk about things that you're knowledgeable about. So yesterday, I'll give an example. Yesterday on Twitter, we were talking about, someone posted about how people shouldn't drink and smoke. And now Twitter is made up of people who are passionate about their bottle, their alcohol. And so people started saying the breweries employ a lot of people. They pay 45 billion to people who supply them per year. And some people bring in figures. And so someone tweeted also and said they pay 10% of our revenue. And for me, that was off, because I didn't have the data offhand, but I realized that even if they paid a lot of revenue, it can't be 10% of our revenue. And so I challenged this person. I'm like, the brewery certainly pay a lot of tax, but it's not 10%. And again, like, tell us more. And I did a Google search, and I found out that they don't even pay 1%, and the figures were right there. And I tweeted them and responded. I'm like, these are the figures. And you see, this person is like, man, you're right. And they were embarrassed. And I pitied them. And I was apologetic to myself that I don't want to burst their bubble. And you see, when you speak with confidence, you have to know what you're talking about. Exactly. And you have to make sure that it's not challengeable. And you have to be data driven. And you have to be providing sort of like solutions in order for people to be able to believe you. You like to be known as a person who is professional, who is knowledgeable, who is full of solutions in that particular sphere. And I learned along the way, the hard way, that it's hard to say that I don't know. It's hard, but it is now the right thing to do. Exactly. Yeah? It's also the right thing to say that I do not know how to do that. Please find someone else. Or can I help you find someone else to help you do that? And all this is part of branding. People start to appreciate you more for the honesty. Also, honesty is very important. People think branding is telling lies, because there's this whole fake it till you make it thing, which is not true. Yeah, it's okay to say I'm not a professional in that. It's okay to say that I failed here, but these are the steps I'm taking to correct it. It's okay to say that there's a part of my life that is not okay, but I'm working towards it. It's not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength for you to come out, and people appreciate you more, that your target audience appreciates you more when you are more honest. Yeah. So the first one, if I may recap as I go on, the so we don't get lost in translation, is appearance and how you show up and how you like to be seen when you show up, where you're showing up. The second one is creating the perception that you want. And I'm saying part of creating perception is, one, being knowledgeable about what you're talking about. Two, being data-driven, speaking with data and confidence and making sound decisions. Three, being honest, even when you fear to be honest, or when you think, when people think you shouldn't have been honest and lied about a certain aspect, being very honest about it. Four is exposing yourself. When I read Maxwell's 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, there's an author called John Calvin Maxwell. He's American.
I know.
You know him. He teaches so much about leadership and growth. And, he spoke about the law of the environment. And, he speaks about how it matters what environment you plant yourself in terms of individuals, but in terms of also location, in order to grow. So it's also branding. Imagine you call me for a Zoom call, and we are having this call, and where I am, it's border, it's a stage, it's just, I'm telling you, people might snatch my phone. I'm in that environment, and I'm like, oh, Jackson, it's downtown Kampala, and we have to make it work. And we make it work, but I mean, it's the noise. I mean, it's the hula baloo of everything.
Exactly.
It comes off differently than if I sit here. It is quiet. We have a stable network. I'm very audible, and speaking, it speaks differently. In fact, people might ask you, what kind of branding person did you bring who took us through branding in a place that is not brandable? And yeah, I'm not saying that we're embarrassed about this environment, but probably it's not suitable. Yeah. So, but also the kind of people that you bring. Imagine you brought me here, and maybe the first example I can give is I have a naked woman here on my wall here, and maybe I don't know. So the branding is different. So they will ask you, what kind of person are you associating with? So the law of environment runs around who you associate with, you understand, and where you associate from, or where you live from. And it is extremely very important in personal branding. I'll just give one more example to emphasize that if there is a top CEO, maybe in the world, that you'd like to meet, I won't mention any because the next part of it is bad. But imagine any of them, the big ones that and then you find them one time minding your business somewhere, walking by, Fate puts you near a brothel, and you find them there, and you see their branding is already down because of the environment they are in.
Yes.
And so when you would like to be perceived in a certain way, when you would like to associate your brand, your personal brand, to a certain caliber of people, then there are places that you will not be in. There are individuals you shall not associate with. There are activities that you shall not do because they brand you in a different way once you're seen. And then the opposite is also true. There are places you must go to. There are people who you must associate with. There are activities you must do to create that perception that you want to be perceived as in terms of branding. Yeah?
Yes.
So I think in a nutshell, that's it. There is so much more, but in 40 minutes that you said, which are almost done, I cannot finish it all. But I think touching, maybe I can come back on another session, touching a bit here and there. I hope it creates a hunger for people to
definitely it does. You've given us so much knowledge. You've shared even examples. I mean, that part of perception, I mean, you cannot debate perception because people don't even ask you. Once they say, oh, that's Timothy, them saying it, they don't have to come to you and tell you, we don't trust you anymore. Because if they tell you that, you started defending yourself. But the perception, people make it in their mind and they stop listening to you. Even when they are, I speak, I give public speeches around the world. And I always try to make sure that I capture the audience, engage the audience so much that even the person who pulls out their phone while I'm talking, I would say something and they all look up.
Look up, yeah.
In high schools, and teachers came to me afterwards and say, we have not had a speaker who captures the audience the way you did. I will put the name in the audience and ask them a question, or you ask, what's your name? My name is Timothy. And I say, let me use an example of Timothy. If you were on the phone at that moment, when I say your name, your face will go up. And so thank you. You have given us so much. You have shared a lot of growth. And when you are talking about growth, I'm thinking McDonald's, which does not even have a name, just have a symbol. I mean, my shirt right here, look at this. Anyone,
just do it.
Wow, there's no word that says anything, but everyone will tell you that's Nike.
That's Nike,
Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, these big brands around the world, they have grown, they have matured. And when you talked about the confusing letters, I looked at my TJK here and I'm going, we are babies right now. As we mature, we'll do better. This is the point I want to make for all our listeners. When I am sick, I go to the hospital. When I want to do my taxes, I go to the accountant. When my car is dead, I go to a mechanic. Don't fool yourself, ladies and gentlemen, and think you can do your own brand. You are not the expert. The reason I brought you, Tim, is so people can learn to go to the expert. People who wake up in the morning and read blogs about branding. People who wake up and consume and create, and their jobs are to make you, your brand, their jobs are to make your organization thrive. That's why his shirt does not have fine media, because it has matured. You look at fine, you want to be fine, you hire fine. Tell us how people find you, and when they find you, how they can go about engaging. You can also talk a little bit of clients you have had in Uganda. I know the first time we met, you took me to one of your fine work you've done near Bugorobi. I know some are confidential and they don't want to be talked about, but those who are okay to be talked about, tell us about one success story, a brand you've worked on that was so successful, but so people also know that this is reality. Tell us where you have tried something and it didn't work out the way you expected. So we are all human. Things happen, others don't. And then we will conclude. I will have one more question for you and we can wrap it up.
All right. So recently I met a new client, and it was so funny. They said that what confidence? Because I told them we've done a lot of projects, the big ones, the small ones, the successful ones, but we've had a couple of failures too. And later on in the meeting, they're like, what confidence do you have to come here and tell us about your failures? And we laughed. And I told them that we've learned to be honest. I can't come here and be an angel and tell you that in our 14 years, we've never had any failures.
It's called transparency, Mark. If I'm hiring somebody who cannot tell me their failure, you are out. There is the tip.
Exactly.
If you work in my company and I ask you about failure and you don't have a failure, you are lying to me.
Exactly. Yeah, but the most important thing for me is if you fail once, then it's a mistake. If you fail twice over the same circumstances, then you're fooled. And I say that because there must be key learnings. And now we like to call it school fees. Every time you fail and it's costly, then you've paid some school fees. You learn something. And so what lessons do you pick up from that, and then to become a better and more resilient person deliver? Now, your first question about contact, depending on how they prefer to contact us, Timothy at finemediaug.com. Timothy is Timothy. Fine Media UG is FINEMEDIA UG. We combine it as one word, then .com. That's my email address. And then my number, it's a Ugandan number, so you put the Ugandan code +256 782 708 439 plus 256 782 708 439. It's on WhatsApp, so in case you can't get me on voice or you find it hard to call from wherever you are, you can just send a WhatsApp, and then we can see how to manage. Now, during COVID, we got an opportunity to work with, at that time it was called Lafarge Holcim. Now it's just Holcim. They are the owners of Hima Cement here in Uganda.
Yes.
And so we did a lot of things for them. One of the things that we did was we revamped their bags. Revamping of packaging is very difficult in a mass market like ours, because there are so many risks that are attached to that. People can, in the process of revamp, people can create counterfeit, because the market doesn't know very well about the transition during that point. And then also the market can reject the new packaging. There are so many things that go into it. Long story short, there are so many risks, but we successfully revamped the bags, and all the current bags that you see on the market of Hima Cement are ours. But the most important one was we launched a product called Fundi Cement. So they came to us with a brief. They would like to launch a cement. It's an innovative product. Hima is one of the most innovative companies and brands out there. And so they created a cement, what they call a masonry cement, for masons. So it does bricklaying, it does a bit of mortar, it does a bit of plastering. So it has it's a value cement, less expensive than the normal cement, like they're multi-purpose, but also you can't use it for other things like putting up pillars and concrete. And so there's a risk that we're running in launching this cement also, that people might misunderstand it, and so use it for things it's not supposed to do, and so have issues with construction sites and buildings because of that. But also, while also surpassing at least, we had to make sure that, they get sales for this cement, because it was launched to make for them a lot of money. And so we launched it for them, all the way from the packaging to the naming to the color to the creative to the go-to-market campaign. We created that brand as it stands now, and this is just around 2021. And now it's one of the strongest brands there is on the market in terms of cement. And I think it's competing with their flagship product, which is multi-purpose in terms of market share for them. So for us, that's a huge success story with a big brand. Now, the small ones that we have success stories for is brands that we formed from scratch. There are people who have come to us and told us, I'm starting a business, and help us. So I don't know if you've heard about a Sigma Capital. It's one of the big, a Sigma as a whole, it's a big consultancy here.
Yes.
In terms of business, in terms of funding, in terms of modeling of business, and a lot of things. That one we formed from scratch. There is the Athena Hotel. It's a Best Western Plus here. That's our brand. There's Legacy Group of companies. There's Medtechno. I could go on and on. There's so many that we formed from scratch, and they're now big. There's StateFeed. It's a circle for staff of the U.S. mission in Uganda, one of the biggest in the country. These are brands we formed from scratch, where they have come to us, and most of them have even come down to give us even the name that we shall use for our entity. And so, and they're now thriving. And normally I promise them that the branding we're doing is going to take you 10 years. And we've not had even a single comment out of the 23 brands we have done that are running right now for different people. We've not had a single complaint.
Yes.
Of what you gave us is not working. And I think that's a success story. Now, failures.
Just one.
Just one.
Yes.
We've had quite many that we've learned from. What I don't know is which one shall not make me look so bad, if I may be honest. Yeah. There's actually a juice company. I forget the name, and I think they eventually closed, that started up, and they gave us their juice to market and introduce to the market. And that project didn't go quite well. I won't mention the name. It has just flashed in my mind now because
you don't need to mention the name. I just want our audience to know that you succeed, but you also start some things and they don't work.
Exactly. So that juice company, that project didn't work. The juice didn't sell. We tried to market it in the best way that we could. It did not work. It did not sell, and the company eventually even shut down. So we've had some failures like that, but we've learned from them.
Wonderful. Yeah. Okay, so we've had success. We've had some failures. The company is doing well. You employ several people. You have come up with other products that we are not able to talk about today. In this whole journey, I'm going to ask you a concluding question, which is, when you look back on your journey and if you were to give advice to your younger self, when you were 18, Timothy is 18 years old, what advice, looking back now, would you have given yourself?
Be very confident and intentional about the things you want to do, and never doubt your inner person, your heart. I wasn't confident. And in Uganda, house of employment is a big problem.
Yes.
So people kept on telling me it won't work. You're gonna fail. Get a desk job.
Exactly.
All those things that people believe in, and it plays with your confidence, and you're not sure if it's gonna work or not. So several years back, if I had the information I have now, I would have told myself to have much more confidence than I had. Well, what I am, where I am, still where I am, but if I had much more confidence, I think I would be much bigger than now, because at some point I started treating it as a try and error, whether this thing shall work or not. The confidence comes much later. Yeah. So that's there's a lot of other advice, but the single, if I was choose one, that would be what I tell myself: be more confident and more intentional about what you're doing, and listen to your intuition.
Very, very, very good. You've heard the man: be confident, don't doubt yourself. It's easier to say now in our years and harder to do when you are 18 and 21. This is why we bring you mentorship. That's why we bring you professionals, so you can learn early and not repeat the same mistakes we've done. Tim, we thank you for being generous with your time. It's early morning in Uganda. I know you have a very busy day and a busy weekend coming ahead. Thank you for making time. Thank you for sharing knowledge, skills, and sharing fine media with us. And we know from your arm right here that brands live where you are, and brands live at fine media. So for anybody who's looking for branding, personal, professional, company, NGO, whatever, government agencies, fine media can do it for you. And their CEO and founder was here to share free knowledge, free information with all of you. Thank you, sir. You can close it out. If there's anything I didn't ask you that I should have asked you, you can say it and we'll close it out and let you go, sir.
No, I really appreciate the opportunity you gave me on such a platform. I'm happy to come back another time if need be, and several times to talk about the various aspects, because as you realized, there was top line. Like you said, there are products we're trying to put out there that we even didn't talk about, but it's a huge part of our story. And I'm happy for the work that you're doing, changing communities in Nyakap and everywhere else and across the world. And I think you're a great person too, if I may give you some flowers right now as people here. Yeah. So thank you. If there's nothing that we didn't say now, then it wasn't meant to be said now. Maybe it will be said another time. I appreciate you, and looking forward to see you when you travel here, like you told me earlier. Yeah.
Wonderful. I look forward to seeing you. And next time we have a session, I'm going to bring in an international branding agency out of New York City that I know both of you will really talk international, national, up to the level, each level of branding that you can think about. But once again, Timothy, thank you. Have an amazing day, and definitely I will see you soon. Ladies and gentlemen, continue to subscribe, continue to share and reshare, learn, relearn, and unlearn, because we know the best is yet to come.